Hi guys, my name is Christine, and today I'm talking about how to turn your dreams into a reality. And basically, I've got 5 points, 5 keys that I think that I've personally kind of realized on my journey, and I want to share these 5 keys with you that can help turn your dreams into reality. So the first thing that I want to get into is repetition of the right actions. So there's really no other way to do this, especially if you have your own business, if you have a blog, if you have a YouTube channel, if you're basically trying to create something, if you're trying to live the life of your dreams and that is really linked with, let's say, your career, you need to put in the repetitions. Sometimes it can be very, very repetitive, what you need to be doing in order to, get where you want to go. You need to be willing to, kind of do the same thing day in and day out, and slowly get to that point where you can achieve your dreams and live the kind of life that you've always wanted to live, to be having the kind of career that you've always wanted. You need to, do those kinds of things first. You need to, and it may take a while, like it may take a few years. They say, there's a saying, like, it took me 10 years to become an overnight success. And I think sometimes if you are trying to create something like that, sometimes it does take a long time. You need to be willing to think, okay, this might take me 10 years, this might take me a decade, and you have to kind of put in those repetitions day in and day out, whatever it may be. Perhaps it's writing, perhaps it's making videos, perhaps it's podcasting, whatever it may be. You need to realize that, hey, I need to keep on doing this thing until it happens. I need to keep on putting in these repetitions. So that's the first point that I've kind of discovered on how to make your dreams a reality. You first got to put in the repetitions. So the second key then is persistence. And this is a really, really big one. Because, you can't just do it for a week and expect it to work. Sometimes things can happen like that. Sometimes you can get really, really lucky and, you just happen to do the right thing at the right time and you do get some success from it. But most of the time, it's all about persistence. You have to be, putting in the repetitions, but you also need to be willing to do it for the long term. You need to get yourself into some kind of routine that you can stick with for a long time and persist at it. And basically, you just got to get to the point where you're like, I'm going to do this. If I fail, I fail, but I'm going to keep on doing it until I succeed. And if I end up failing in the end and I get through all of my life and I haven't succeeded, at least I tried. At least I did all that I could. You've got to see your life as David, and you are Michelangelo. And basically, you've got this big slab of marble, and basically, you're just chipping away at this marble every single day until you get that divine masterpiece that is your life and your dream life. And you've just got to keep on persisting at it and keep on chipping away until you create that masterpiece of your life. So the third key is awareness of what is working and what isn't working. Now, this is something that may take you a few months. So obviously, if you just write 5 blog posts and none of them have worked, then, you haven't basically done enough blog posts. I mean, you might have to do something for, you might have to do a few repetitions for a year. And then let's look at what I've done, what has worked, what hasn't worked, and then just continue to focus on the things that have worked, that have done really well. And it may be the case that you're at a point where I haven't done, you have done loads, but you're still not seeing any results. Then perhaps you need to do some things that are a little bit different, just kind of tweaking your approach. Perhaps talk about something that is related to the topics that you like discussing, but is a little bit different, and try to work through it that way. Sometimes you really do need to be aware of what you are doing, or be aware of the results, but you've got to make sure that you're putting enough repetition so you can kind of look at the results, so you've got a good catalogue of what is working and what isn't working. And then you just cut out what isn't working and focus on those things that are working, or the things that you haven't tried yet that could potentially work. And then, as another year or a few months have gone by, then you reassess again, look and see what's working, what isn't working. Stop doing the things that aren't working, carry on doing the things that are working, and looking for new ways to make things work as well. So basically, you just want to keep on hustling and grinding a little bit until you find what works and what doesn't work, and becoming aware of it, checking through the data, looking back. Don't just blindly keep on doing stuff and not looking at the results that you're getting, but give yourself enough time basically to be able to have enough data so you can figure out what has worked and what hasn't worked. So the fourth key is to have enthusiasm. So basically, what I'm saying here is like what you are doing day in and day out, you've got to be able to do it over the long run. You've got to be able to do this for a long time, potentially. So it's got to feel good to you. If it feels like a grind and if you feel horrible about it, then perhaps you're not quite on the right track. You've got to be doing things that in a way feel like play to you, because if it feels like play to you and it feels enjoyable and you got enthusiasm and passion for it, then it's going to be much more easier for you to work on it for a long time. Because you hear about like these CEOs who like work for like 16 hours a day or something like that. The reason why they can do that is because it feels like play to them. Like they can just keep on doing it and it doesn't like affect them in any way. Like it doesn't feel horrible to them. It doesn't feel like a grind to them. Because if it did, if it felt really awful, they probably wouldn't do it for as long as what they do. So if you want to really, start living the life that you've always wanted to live, then what you're doing needs to feel fun to you, or you've got to at least do it in a way that it feels fun, right? Or you've got to try and come up with a kind of a technique that can make it more fun for you, that can give you enthusiasm, that can feel really good for you. So it's got to feel like play. Whatever you're doing, it has to feel like play. It has to feel like fun. It has to feel interesting for you to be able to do it over the long term. Because otherwise, if it's not fun for you and it feels horrible and it feels like a drag, you're not going to persist at it and you're not going to be able to put in enough repetitions. And you've got to make sure you're able to do it for a long, consistent amount of time. Because like I said, there's people out there that say it took me, 10 years to become an overnight success. If you're not willing to do it for 10 years, then you shouldn't be doing it. So the fifth key is kind of finding what your inspiration is, what kind of sparks your inspiration. Now, there's a few things that personally spark my inspiration. So, for example, listening to inspirational music really helps. It could be like a mindset, like, I think back to when I was a teenager and I'm trying to prove someone wrong or something like that. Sometimes that can spark my inspiration. Sometimes, just thinking about an idea that I want to talk about can make me feel really inspired. So, you got to have loads of little things that can help ignite that inspiration in you. Because sometimes, if you're tired and you don't feel well, then sometimes, it can be really difficult to like get yourself out of bed or get yourself to do the things that you need to do. So it's good to have like these little things that can inspire you, that can kind of fuel you, that can kind of help you on those days where you don't feel all that good or whatever it may be. That can get you into the right frame of mind. So it's good to have like things that can inspire you, that does give you lots of inspiration, and that can really, really help. And those were my 5 keys. So I'm going to give you the last key, the secret key, which is self-discipline. Now, self-discipline is basically making yourself do the things that you need to do on days where you really don't feel like doing it, even if you have tried to inspire yourself. Because, one of my favorite things that Mel Robbins has ever said is, motivation is garbage. Yeah, I love that quote. Because sometimes you have to rely on your self-discipline. Sometimes you're not going to feel like it. Sometimes you want to do it and you're passionate about it and you really like doing these things, but sometimes you just need that extra push. And sometimes motivation's not there to give you that push, so you need to push yourself. So you need to discipline yourself to do the things that you need to do, whether you feel like it or not. And I'm afraid the only way you can do that is by just making yourself do it. So one thing that really helps me though is I say to myself on days where I feel like I don't have any of the internal enthusiasm, where I don't feel inspired, where I can't push myself to do it, I just say to myself, okay, just do it for 15 minutes. Just try and do it for 15 minutes. It's like, I have this with exercise especially, right? Just exercise for 15 minutes. You can quit after 15 minutes. I tell myself, just do the 15 minutes and you can quit after 15 minutes if you don't want to carry on, basically. But usually, most of the time, like 9 times out of 10, I go for longer. I do more than the 15 minutes. So if you are just in this kind of rut where you just feel like, oh my God, I just don't want to do anything or whatever it may be, just say to yourself right now, okay, I'm just going to do it for 15 minutes. And you can even set a timer, and after the time, when the timer goes, you can slack off again. But just do it for 15 minutes, okay? And I think that can really, really benefit you. No matter what it is, it could be studying. It doesn't have to be anything to do with an online business or anything like that. You could be studying for 15 minutes. It could be writing for 15 minutes. It could be meditating for 15 minutes. Just do whatever it is you feel like you need to do for 15 minutes. And I guarantee, like most of the time, once those 15 minutes are up, you're okay to carry on doing it. And those are basically the 5 and obviously the secret 6 thing on how to turn your dreams into a reality. And those are the things that I've personally picked up over the years after reading so many self-help books, working on things myself. If you have anything yourself, like if you have any tips, if you have anything that you feel like I may have missed, then please leave it down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye, guys.